In August 2014, in the picturesque province of Bali, Indonesia, staff at a luxurious holiday resort made a gruesome discovery that would forever stain the memory of the St. Regis Hotel. It was a discovery that rocked the foundations of paradise, leaving the community shocked to its core. On this particular morning, a guest at the hotel had come to drop off their suitcase at a taxi just outside the resort, with a fleeting promise to return after attending to matters in their room. After a couple of hours passed, the taxi driver became impatient and handed the bag over to hotel staff. When staff took a closer look at the bag, they saw what appeared to be blood and immediately called in the help of police. When the police arrived, they carefully opened the bag, exposing the lifeless body of American socialite Sheila von Wiese Mack, bearing the harrowing marks of a savage assault. She'd been brutally bludgeoned and asphyxiated on her own blood. When police examined the CCTV footage from the hotel, the cameras revealed a gut-wrenching revelation. It was Sheila's very own daughter, 17-year-old Heather Mack, who had wheeled the luggage to the waiting taxi, making her the prime suspect in her own mother's murder. It was an unthinkable betrayal and a crime that, if found guilty of, may have seen her facing death by firing squad. As the investigation intensified, secrets would unravel, exposing a world of family dynamics, hidden motives, and tragic consequences. In the heart of paradise, evil had left its mark. This is the heartbreaking case of Heather Mack.
Okay, so this is a video that I need to make. A lot of the times, since I've been a kid, I've heard the truth sets you free, the truth sets you free. I don't regret killing my mother. And as evil as that may sound, that's my reality.
Heather Mack was born in 1995 and raised in Chicago, Illinois. She was destined for a life of privilege. She was the daughter of famous jazz composer, conductor, and producer James L. Mack, and her mom was Sheila von Wiese Mack, a captivating socialite and publisher who graced the city's elite circles. But it was within the walls of their opulent Chicago home that the Mack's family truly flourished. As the only child of this power couple, Heather basked in the radiant love of her family, having an especially close relationship with her father. He loved spending time with her, making every moment count and watching her grow up, no doubt having high hopes and aspirations for his daughter. In 2005, while the Mack's family was on vacation in Athens, Greece, tragedy would unfortunately strike. James, who had recently been diagnosed with colon cancer, had actually suffered a pulmonary embolism and died in his hotel room. Heather was only 10 at the time and stood on the precipice of grief, her innocence forever tainted by the cruel touch of loss. Although James made sure to take care of his family even after his death, and Heather would be a millionaire by the time she turns 21, he could have never prepared for what was about to unfold. His death served as an unyielding catalyst, a turning point that fractured the foundation of the once tight-knit family. Although it was only Heather and Sheila left as the resemblance of the family unit, their relationship quickly crumbled under the weight of grief. Heather struggled to come to terms with the loss of her dad, and she was ill-equipped to navigate the gaping void left by his absence, and she quickly found herself teetering on the precipice of despair. Unable to bear the weight of her loss, Heather's anguish morphed into a maelstrom of self-destruction. She embarked on a treacherous path filled with wild parties, intoxicating substances, and the lure of the wrong crowd. With each passing day, Heather's downward spiral strained her relationship with her mother, who didn't seem to know how to handle her daughter. Their once tight-knit relationship dissolved into bitter resentment and abuse, with the police being summoned to their house over 80 times, with each of them accusing the other of verbal and physical abuse. Heather would often run away from home or stay out days at a time, leaving her mom worried about where she was or if she was safe. It's also during one of these crazy nights out that Heather met 21-year-old Tommy Schaefer. He was also from Chicago, and although he wasn't as well off as Heather, he did come from a decent family who did everything in their means to ensure that he stood a chance in life. They sent him to the best schools in the most affluent parts of town, hoping to give him an education that sets him apart. Tommy, however, wasn't really interested in academics. Drawn to the allure of the bad boy archetype, he shed the shackles of convention and dreamt of becoming a successful hip-hop artist. It was a dream that resonated with Heather, who still bore the weight of her father's musical legacy.
What up, y'all? This Schaefer, man. It's my first song, the demo. Hope y'all enjoy this. Check it out.
Heather's mom didn't particularly like Tommy. He was a college dropout, an aspiring rapper, and seemed to be a bad influence. His non-existent music career, along with his past of petty crime, painted a picture that unsettled Sheila to her core. Tommy embodied everything Sheila feared for her daughter's well-being, and with their already turmoil relationship, it only worsened once Tommy came into their lives. As their lives teetered on the edge of chaos, Sheila realized that their fractured bond could no longer withstand the weight of their troubles. In a last-ditch effort to salvage what remained of their relationship, she planned a luxurious girls' trip to Bali, hoping that this voyage to paradise would give them a chance to rewrite their troubled history. So on August 4th, 2014, they flew business class to Bali and checked into the prestigious five-star St. Regis resort. All of the pictures from those first 2 weeks of vacation show no signs of struggle or animosity. In those idyllic snapshots of paradise, the sun-drenched days and carefree smiles painted a picture of blissful togetherness. With every click of the camera, the facade of a perfect mother-daughter relationship seemed unbreakable, yet things would very quickly take a turn for worse. Less than 2 weeks into their trip, Tommy Schaefer unexpectedly arrived on a $12,000 flight from Chicago. Unbeknownst to Sheila, Heather secretly used her credit card to orchestrate Tommy's lavish entrance and to cover his expenses in Bali. Needless to say, Sheila was livid. Employees at the hotel would later recount that a fiery confrontation erupted in the lobby. Sheila didn't hold back, expressing her deep disapproval of Tommy's presence and even threatening to press fraud charges once they got back to the States. Less than 10 hours later, Sheila was dead. On August 12, 2014, CCTV footage from the hotel shows Tommy Schaefer walking towards Sheila's room, appearing to carry something under his shirt. It would later be revealed that it was the handle of a decorative metal fruit bowl from his room. Over the next hour or so, the same CCTV footage would capture Heather and Tommy making their way back and forth between Tommy's room and Sheila's a couple of times, and even going downstairs to the reception area asking to borrow some duct tape. A little while later, Heather and Tommy are then seen rolling out a metal suitcase from the room, continuing downstairs to the lobby. They hand the suitcase off to a taxi driver who then puts it into the trunk. They then told the driver that they needed to get something in the room, so they left the bags with him and then simply disappeared. The driver waited a while before taking the suitcase out of his trunk and handing it off to hotel security. Upon closer inspection, they saw what appeared to be blood, and they immediately called the local police. When police arrived, they opened the bag and found the partially naked body of Sheila von Wiese Mack. She had been bludgeoned repeatedly before she asphyxiated on her own blood due to a broken nose. Hotel employees immediately knew who she was and told police that she had checked into the hotel with her daughter, so police immediately went to her room to see if they could find any sign of Heather. In the room, they found Heather's passport, which was good news to police because it meant that she couldn't flee the country and that she had to be somewhere in town. They alerted the media about the discovery and asked people to be on the lookout for Heather and Tommy, and within a couple of hours, they had been tracked down to a nearby hotel. The initial story coming from Heather was that the three of them had been abducted by a gang, and that it was actually the gang members who killed Sheila.
The victim's 19-year-old daughter, Heather Louise Mack, and her boyfriend, Tommy Schaefer, seen here, have been arrested. Forensic investigators say the victim suffered severe blunt force injuries.
No cameras. Why is the media here?
The young couple was apprehended Wednesday at a nearby budget hotel after a day-long police chase.
During the initial police investigation, officers found a pair of cell phones containing damning evidence of their plot to kill Sheila. Tommy Schaefer texted his cousin Robert Bibbs in Chicago. The text revealed that he and Heather were planning to murder Sheila. Tommy claimed Heather offered him $50,000 to kill her mom, and Tommy and Robert proceeded to discuss possible ways they could do the job without being caught. The motive behind the murder appeared to be inheriting Sheila's fortune. Police reports also indicated that there was a flurry of text messages between Heather and Tommy, which provided a haunting testimony of their shared darkness. The pair outlined how the murder was going to play out and even discussed how they couldn't wait to be rich. Initially, the plan was for Heather to kill her mother herself, but a few minutes before Tommy walked into Sheila's room, she told him via text message that she couldn't do it, and asked if he could do the job instead. Tommy told her that he could, and a couple of hours later, Sheila was dead. A couple of days after their arrest, urine samples confirmed that Heather was pregnant. The couple now admitted that they had killed Sheila, but said that they only did so because she threatened to kill their unborn baby. They said that Tommy flew out to Bali to break the news to Sheila, and after she found out, she totally lost it and threatened to kill Heather and her baby. Heather also said that her mother started making racial slurs toward Tommy and repeatedly called him the N-word. This motive for the murder would, however, be debunked in court, as prosecutors were able to produce email from Sheila, which she sent to friends and family where she discussed Heather's pregnancy. This meant that Sheila was aware that Heather was pregnant before they left for Bali, so this could not have been the reason that Sheila acted out. There was also no evidence that Sheila racially abused Tommy, and they only had Heather's word for it. On January 14, 2015, Heather Mack and Tommy Schaefer were found guilty of the premeditated murder of Sheila von Wiese Mack. Heather was given a 10-year prison sentence, while Tommy was given 18 years. They both escaped death by firing squad. The judges reported being more lenient on them because Heather was pregnant, and the judge didn't want the baby being raised without parents. The day after her conviction, Heather sued her uncle for access to her mother's estate. Despite her uncle informing the courts that he suspected Heather of using the funds to pay for bribes in Indonesia, and that she'd already spent more than $200,000 over and above her official legal expenses. The Cook County Court, however, ruled that Heather had the right to access the $1.6 million trust fund established by her late mother. The trust would pay her small annual payments until she turns 30 years, and then the remaining balance at that time. After numerous appeals, the final disposition of the trust fund was resolved in a 2018 settlement in favor of Heather's daughter. Heather gave birth to a baby girl on March 17, 2015, while still in prison. She had no choice but to raise her baby in jail. On October 29, 2021, after 6 years in jail, Heather Mack was released after receiving a reduction in her sentence due to good behavior. Despite fighting to stay in Bali, the Indonesian Immigration Department deported Heather and her daughter immediately. On November 3, 2021, after landing at the O'Hare Airport in Chicago, Heather Mack was arrested and charged with conspiracy to kill in a foreign country and conspiracy to commit foreign murder of a U.S. national. She was denied bond and was forced to stay in custody until her trial. Heather's cousin was awarded temporary custody of her daughter. Tommy's cousin, Robert Bibbs, was arrested in Chicago on federal charges of conspiracy to commit foreign murder. He was sentenced to 9 years in prison. Tommy Schaefer is still in Bali serving his sentence for his part in the murder of Sheila von Wiese Mack. He has also been charged in the United States with conspiracy to kill in a foreign country and conspiracy to commit foreign murder of a U.S. national.